Vincent Rodriguez, you play Josh Chan in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Now, I thought the best way to start this would be to help people who maybe have been living under a rock what the show is about. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. You tell us, what is this show about?
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is a one-hour musical comedy about this very successful young lawyer in New York running into her old high school summer camp crush on the street and following him to West Covina, California, because one, she's in love with him, and two, she lives an unhappy life. So she leaves the unhappy life to follow the love of her life, and that's me, Josh Chan.
Yeah, and when I first read the concept, I thought, really, like, how are they going to sustain it for a whole show? But they really do, I think the key to the success of this show is that the characters are actually quite relatable. How was the concept sold to you when you went for the role of Josh?
I just read the breakdown, and I really, for me, it was just knowing that it was a musical comedy, and knowing that it was going to be on Showtime, and knowing that the role of Josh Chan, the way it was described, felt very close to, I don't know, me. Yeah. Like I've been in New York for 12 years, pursuing the business and doing mostly stage. But even in the short time I've pursued TV and film, I don't really encounter roles written like Josh, specifically written for an Asian male. So that indicator definitely was a little plus in my head. I'm like, oh, this is something different. And by reading the script, this felt like we're definitely in the real world. And I didn't know anything about the musical aspect of it yet until I watched Rachel Bloom on YouTube, because the star of the show, Rachel Bloom, she's our co-creator, co-head writer, co-executive producer, and she writes all of the songs, and she just stars in the show. So
she doesn't do much.
Not busy at all. She learns. She's amazing at what she does, and I never know if she's going to say the lines that are on the page. Sometimes other things come out, so that's always entertaining. But just that was really my introduction, and as soon as I read that, I was totally on board. And then throughout the audition process, everything just kind of flowed. I never felt like I was being asked to do something that I was uncomfortable with. It was really quite the easy and kind of effortless experience, for sure. And that's something. I've been around. I've gone to many auditions. They don't always go that way.
Yeah, it must feel great to have landed a role that has really become a breakthrough for you. You've been working for a while now, like a lot of actors, a lot of performers who really toil in the trenches. So you've landed this role. It's become a success. It's even won some awards for Rachel. So now it has a different profile. How do you feel the show has now changed your life and your career?
Gosh, it's like completely, I don't know if it's like opposite, but I was in New York doing musicals. I was an understudy, a swing, which is basically an understudy for multiple people, in an all Filipino musical called Here Lies Love, when I auditioned for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and when I booked Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So the life I knew before was being in the ensemble most of the time, not really ever making a Broadway debut that I've been trying to make for the last 12 years in New York. I did a lot of great shows, did a few cast recordings. I'm very proud of the credits and the shows that I've done. But they don't pay nearly as well as TV does. And it's also just a different scope. We're reaching just millions of people with this show. We definitely have the lowest numbers in terms of viewership, but we have such a huge support from like the online critics and from just people who are just watching it 3 days later or 7 days later. They they tweet with us. Some of the ones that watch live tweet along with us, and those who don't, they still tweet, and they like us on Instagram. And so we're feeling the love. It's been completely different from what I'm used to. I mean, theater is great. It's its own thing, but this is a whole nother plane for me, and a whole nother playing field. So I'm still getting used to it, but I would be lying if I said I didn't dream this or want this for myself, because I absolutely do. I love where I am right now. I'm very grateful for it. And this is, for me, it's only the beginning. So Crazy Ex-Girlfriend definitely opened certain doors to me that wouldn't have been opened otherwise. And it's also an honor to play Josh Chan, a Filipino Asian bro, on network television, and represent the Filipino culture, and have our creators, Aline Brosh McKenna and Rachel Bloom, write a Filipino episode, Meeting My Family. And that apparently was like the first Filipino family depicted on network television. And I digress. It was written by Rene Gubay, who also plays Father Bra. Mm-hmm. And he's an awesome character too. So two men, Filipino dudes on TV, and he's also a writer. And so that blows my mind, because writers are amazing. They take a blank page and they world on it.
So they actually create stuff. I know, it's incredible.
I just say exactly.
But it's so true, and I really love this concept of the Asian bro, because I'm very familiar with them. I grew up with lots of Asian bros that I went to school with, but you don't see that representation on TV ever. Like, I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's what's funny to me, and to, I guess, the other Filipinos out there, or those like yourself who grew up with Asian bros and that kind of guy at their school, because we never seen it on TV. So in my life, it's not that weird. I mean, I went to Westmore High School in Daly City, California, DALY. And I had a very similar experience to how Josh grew up. West Covina and Daly City are, kind of small towns, suburban, minorities are the majority. So a lot of Latino and Asian, and in the Asian world is already broken up so many pieces. So like majority of my school was Filipino, Chinese, Vietnamese, some Thai, some Japanese. But yeah, I feel like finally we're watching TV and you see like, hey, I went to school with that guy. And you're like, wait a minute, I've never seen that guy on television before. What year is it now? Wow. So it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. I can imagine that when you're doing press, people do want to talk to you about that side of things, because you're, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, however your perspective is, you are now representing a whole massive group of people, because there's not that many of you on television. I mean, it's so weird. Why? The representation of Asian American men, or Asian Americans generally in popular culture, and it's just, unfortunately, there's still a lot of ground to cover, I think, and I would argue that, other minorities are probably well represented in comparison to Asians. What's your view on that? I'm sure you've said it over and over again, but I'd love to hear it myself.
My view on specifically?
Well, why is it that Asians are not represented in popular culture as much as they probably should be, given that they do make up such a large percentage of the world population?
Yeah, that's true. I think, and mind you, I mean, I'm not making the decisions. So that's like all the executive producers and casting directors and writers and, those people. As an actor who happens to be Asian and who definitely knows what it's like to be an Asian actor in this business, the answer I think I formulated was, I wonder how many Asian executive producers there are. How many Asian head writers, showrunners, casting directors? I don't see many. And this is not me bad-mouthing the Asian community. This is like a hardcore, wait a minute, you guys, we're upset about us not being represented, but I want to meet, I think Rene Gubay is the first Filipino writer I think I've met in a long time. At that level, like he's written for Ground Floor and he's worked in LA as a writer. That's huge. I know a lot of Filipino actors in New York, but Filipino writers, Filipino directors, the people creating the work. And I would, and then going further, I was not raised to be here in front of you, to be an actor, to be a singer, to be a dancer. Maybe singer, because Filipinos love their karaoke. But I was not postured to be here. I was not supported to be here. I love my mom. I love my dad. My dad, may he rest in peace. My dad did not support me. He did not mentally say, son, you can do it. You can be whatever you want. You're going to be great. No. My mom just wanted me to be happy, and that's awesome. But my dad was really a deterrent for me. I had to twist his arm to let me be an actor, go to acting school, whatever. He really wanted me to be a businessman. So when you think of how many young, aspiring Asian actors, actresses, or stage management, producers, writers, directors, executive producers, showrunners, creators, they're not being encouraged to do this. So that's really the problem. If we want to talk about a problem, that's a huge problem. If that were not the case and we'd still be where we are today, then I would say, okay, bigger problem. This is even worse. But really right now, there's not enough of us. I mean, there's also, I've read this in certain things, there's also not enough roles written for us. But again, that goes back to who's writing these scripts. Rene Coubet wrote the Thanksgiving episode for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. He also wrote the season finale. Both episodes feature Filipino families. So it's wonderful to be a part of a show that understands the authenticity that goes into writing based on the specific background of an actor. And in this case, my background as an actor is I'm Filipino. I grew up in a Filipino household, and they made that early choice to make Josh Chang, it was originally Chang, into Josh Chan, because Aline Brosh McKenna, who wrote 27 Dresses, We Built a Zoo, Devil Wears Prada, she was like, okay, you're Filipino, so we'll make Josh Chang Filipino. We'll just change the last name. And she found out that Chan is a surname of the Philippines, so that's where Chan came from. I didn't grow up knowing too many Filipinos with the last name Chan, but it's also not odd. I mean, it's not odd at all. Just, a Chinese person marries a Filipino person. Whose name do they take? Who knows?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's just throw that out there. My first name is Vicente, all right? Coquito is my middle name. My last name is Rodriguez. I got so many looks like, wait, if you're Latina, why are you Asian looking?
I don't get it.
Not Latino. So, funny. It is funny, but I don't know if I answered your question. I think I did.
I think you did. And by the way, I know a lot of Filipinos that have Hispanic surnames because that's just the way it rolls. But anyway, that's another story.
It's kind of like you can't define a Filipino by their last name because it's going to be mixed somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere down the line. Exactly. It's one of the things that I personally really care about. I just love to see a more of a mixing pot on my TV. So I really appreciate that Aileen and Rachel decided to go down that road and to portray a Filipino family. I think that's really interesting, and that makes me want to watch even more. So I guess for you, given that is your cultural background, and you seem to be quite happy with the way that particular episode, which aired a while ago now, but how that particular episode came out. So tell us, what do you think that they have done right in terms of portraying Filipino families?
What have they done right?
Yeah.
Everything done so far?
Yeah, everything.
I mean, there was one thing that I remember chatting with one of the writers about. I think it was with Renee about in our scene. There was a good amount of Filipino families sitting on the floor in that scene where we're all eating. because we weren't eating around the table. We were eating around the house because the table's just where the food is. There's no place to eat at the table. That totally made sense to me. And that Thanksgiving episode had way more. Josh Chan's family was bigger than my family at Thanksgiving. So I totally get those people sitting, on the floor and stuff like that. But that didn't seem as authentic, like sitting on the floor. But also what was interesting, and the point I'm trying to make is it was kind of a suspension of disbelief because of the nature of like just the scope of the scene and the way it needed to be shot. So some things can fall through the cracks a little bit, but it wasn't a far reach, to be honest. Like I could see myself sitting on the floor with my cousins if there's no place to sit and just chatting with them, catching up. We haven't seen each other in a while. It's Thanksgiving. We're just, the plates aren't even like they're paper. Like anyone watching this, look back. Those plates are not real. They're like, I'm pretty sure they were like paper plates because there's like, I don't know, 60 of us. Mm-hmm. So many of the detail was just spot on. It felt, you know what it felt like? It felt like I was at home. And I will fully admit, I took that whole experience for granted because it legit, it could have been like, okay, what's this food doing here? This isn't right. This feels weird. That dish doesn't look right. This vibe feels not like my family. But no, it was completely like I was at Thanksgiving. And there's nothing like jumped out at me like, whoa, what's up with that? Everything was pretty spot on, like how we were dressed, like the positions of all the American food near the Filipino food and how there's both. Gotta have both. Gotta just have one. But I don't know too many, families that have pancit or palabok at their Thanksgiving table, but we did. It was pretty amazing. It was spot on. The energy too, like with the background actors and just the way we were behaving, like in that scene, it totally felt like Thanksgiving, and that's an important holiday too, because it's about family, and that's a huge Filipino characteristic, and it's how we're raised, and it's just kind of a part of us, and ironically, it mimics theater families. So when I was in Here Lies Love, it was all Filipino cast. It felt like a family. We would eat together, we'd go out to eat together, or we'd hang out in the green room and eat together, and we'd laugh and make jokes and turn the green room into like a club and like a DJ and we'd have lights and stuff and then we were just like crew and actors together. So that family aspect, I think, follows the Filipino culture, and Aline was really very supportive of Renee paying attention to those details so that we really had an authentic representation of that. And obviously people responded to it really well. And I'm definitely pleased with it. And it was great.
Yeah, I think it is one of the highlights of the show because, at the moment there's a lot of media attention towards. Sorry, there's just like an echo. Can you hear that echo?
Echo?
Yeah.
Did I hear it?
No, I'm sorry. There was just a problem with our audio, but I think we're okay now. I'll just continue. There's a lot of media attention at the moment about whitewashing. For example, George Takei has been taking Hollywood to task for recent whitewashing for Doctor Strange, Ghost in the Shell. Oscar So White was a huge problem. Chris Rock came under fire. A lot of the Asian past nominees and winners got together and wrote a letter to the Academy. So it's in the media. And I think a show like this is really important, and there are others as well, but this one in particular is just showing a Filipino family. It could have been anything. It could have been Taiwanese. It could have been Somalian. But it's just nice that we get to see different perspectives, and that's probably the key. So
it is key, and so much to the point that Rachel emphasizes that when they were looking for Josh Chan, they just knew he wanted to be an Asian bro. They didn't say specifically Filipino. They didn't specifically pick my ethnicity. She goes on saying like they picked the guy that was best for the job, and I guess it was me, and I guess it was me. And then they kind of molded Josh Chan around who I was. And so a lot of the things that I grew up doing and just things that became who I was as a grown-up became Josh. And that's just them being adamant about, well, this is going to be what it is because you know who you are, you know your background, and we're not going to make you play something you're not. But I've said many times, Josh didn't have to be Asian to me. Like, Josh doesn't represent like Asians. To me, Josh is just a dude. But what's great about Josh is that he can be any ethnicity. He could have been white. Nothing wrong with that. We've seen that, though. So what's great about the show is opening up that kind of viewing window into a person's culture and seeing how similar they are to us and how different they are. But you know, the Filipino culture, like you were saying, is dominant, and we're out there, but we just don't see them represented on television. And I think that's, you know, multiply that issue by much more. And now we're into what you're talking about with that, you know, Hollywood's being taken to task about whitewashing a lot of Asian roles.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, taking another tack, because there's another really important aspect to Josh, and it's kind of a little bit difficult to explain, but given that Rebecca has moved across the country because she's fallen in love with a guy back in summer camp, like it's a silly concept, but it has to be sold to the audience. Like, so Josh has to be someone that we really love. And that we understand why she's done this, even though it's completely crazy that she's thrown away all this money in her career. So for you, your challenge had to be, how am I going to make this guy relatable, likable, someone that we're going to root for? And I think you pull it off. And so I'm wondering how you have decided to take on this role and make him like that.
You know, that's an interesting question. I feel like I should say I went to a camp where I focused on the role of Josh, and for 2 weeks I studied all those behaviors. No, I didn't do any of that bullshit. I knew who Josh was when I saw him on the paper, and then when I read the lines, Josh lives in me, like that. But I don't say that to be like I am Josh or I'm the only Josh. I say that in a way that those characteristics live in a lot of people. And so it's interesting that you preface your question in that way, because I think there are so many men, and I'll say in this case, non-white men, who are Joshes. So not only are we talking about whoever your Josh Chan is in your life, you would move across the country for them. It's not that they're your Josh Chan, it's that they're your Josh. Someone who you idolize or who represents happiness to you. Josh is an idea of following a time when you were happy. That's what really is happening here. And that's what's interesting to hear other people say, because you're not the only one who said that Rebecca's crazy and that she's doing something very crazy by following Josh. But really, when you look at what she came from, you have to ask yourself, how crazy is it really? What's crazy is the opposite. And we see that when you meet Audra Levine. And you meet her and they do the Jack battle rap. Then they go to court and Rebecca says, hey, take care of yourself. You chose a really hard life and just make sure you're happy. And Audra looks at her, happy, I am happy. This is what happy looks like. And it's a total throwback to what Rebecca said to herself in an alleyway of her building, trying to open up a bottle of pills, having an anxiety attack because she's about to get promoted. Like, this is what we're being fed on television. Like, once you're hit that level, you're happy, you're done, you're set. That's not what we're trying to tell you on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. And I think people look at it as a crazy grand gesture, or maybe it's someone seeing very clearly, I'm unhappy and I need to be happy. He is the last time I was happy. So I think through Josh, her idea of Josh, she's going to find, hopefully, by the end of our season or the run of seasons for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Rebecca finds her own individual happiness and her own peace, and won't have it be reliant upon the idea of Josh, because we don't know if they're going to end up together or what. So, but I think that's really what we're talking about. So when you ask me, how do you play that person so that they can follow you. I just had to trust that I am that person, and I was told that I brought a lot of warmth to Josh, and that's kind of how I was raised. That's kind of my vibe. My it's not a shtick. It's just kind of who I am. So, sorry, America. Like, I'm playing myself. Like, oh God, Hollywood's gonna crumble now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Play yourself. That's not acting.
That's not allowed.
I've only played one role that is like Josh. There's tons of actors who played the same role all the time. So anywho, but
that's a whole other story.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole thing. But yeah, I think you've hit it on the nail. I think that is so relatable, mate. I really, really do. It's the one thing that I really cottoned onto when I started to watch the show. And obviously the other thing is those crazy, amazing musical numbers. It's really the highlight of every episode. I have a favorite. I want to know what your favorite is so far.
What's your favorite?
Oh, it's the one from the pilot, the Sexy Getting Ready song. I will never forget. I will just never forget that I was laughing so hard during that. I haven't laughed in months. And all of a sudden I'm watching this new show just laughing my head off. Like that's gold to me.
Yeah, she's ahead of you. She's ahead of you. While you're watching it, she's giving you information and she's making a comment and she's presenting irony to you. But as she's doing it, she's like a step ahead of you. And she knows you're listening. It's really, I love Rachel. She's an amazing person and a beautiful person. And I love working with her as an actress. As a writer, she's a genius. And I say all the time, she ignores nothing. So there's little bits of tidbits that go into that song that if they don't make you laugh now, they make you laugh later because you're like, oh, I get it. Or it hits me in a different way. Or the joke will come back. It's like things like she's just great. But like Sexy Getting Ready song is a classic. Body rolls are really hard, aren't they?
I know, absolutely.
Everyone's like, they are. You know, some people
really hard. That's a fact.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You know, some people like after the 30th time listening to it, they're like in the car, and it's like Sexy Getting Ready song. Body rolls are really hard. Yep. And you're just like driving, and you're like, yeah, they really are.
I feel you. Yeah.
She feels you.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one. Someone asked me this on Twitter earlier today. I love rapping because I'm a huge Hamilton fan.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. I've seen it twice, and I'm a huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fan. I've been in for Hamilton. I've been in for In the Heights. Obviously, didn't book them, but wink, wink. Anyway.
Come on.
But like, so obviously chat battle rap. I mean, so funny. Chat battle rap. I Give Good Parent.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
Hilarious. And just because I love that this is one of the only songs that's kind of like it in the show. This kind of self-deprecating kind of acknowledgement, but you stupid bitch. Yeah, that's pretty great because it kind of sums up, and you don't have to be see. You're reacting this way because it doesn't. You don't have to be a girl to relate to this song.
You so don't.
We've all had that moment where we're like, fucking idiot. I can't.
Man.
And there it is, and she's like, sing with me.
Let's do this.
And we're all like, you ruined everything. Actually, I'm one of the voices singing that background.
Oh, right.
Cool. It says sing with me. I did a few tracks in the recording studio for that song. So like, I love that. So those two rap songs, You Stupid Bitch. And just because of the intersection of ideas and genius, and this, I might be biased, but Josh's Angry Dance.
Yeah, I thought that might have been one of them.
That's ridiculous. Boy band totally. Ridiculous. Josh, Footloose, martial arts, 80s, flash dance, backlighting, fog.
What more could you possibly want?
Jazz hand. It was all there, buddy. There's aerials, flips to the air. Oh dear.
So good.
It was good, but it kind of every time I think of Josh's angry dance, I think of two things. I think of going jaw dropping, like, oh my god, because it's so. You're thinking this is so stupid, and you're kind of like,
really, yeah.
You're like, you can't believe we just. Rachel's husband Dan Greger, he's one of our consultants on the show, and he and his partner, writing partner Doug Mand, wrote the Party Bus episode for us. And I remember Greger, he goes by Greger, was like, dude, it's like every time I think about that number, it's so delightful. It's so freaking funny. It's so good, dude. And I'm like, dude, thank you. So it's so flattering, and it's also very surreal to be like, yeah, Josh's angry dance. I played Josh. That was me. I didn't write it or anything. I just like said angry things, and then Catherine Burns, our choreographer, gave me hips and like gave me like sexy moves.
All that stuff, all the moves.
All the moves. Take
they
that.
Were there.
I'm kidding. Channing's an amazing dancer. Like I don't those things.
Yeah.
No dancing with my shirt off or in a G-string for me.
God no. Please don't go there yet. Maybe.
Well, we got season 2, so
yeah, you got to hold something back. Okay. You need to
be a little subdued, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, mate, I hope that we see your show represented at the Emmys this year. Good luck to you and to the cast and crew, and thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much.
Okay.